I wasn't looking for the truth. I was looking for the Christmas lights. The attic was cold that morning, not the nostalgic kind of cold you wrap yourself in with cocoa and music, but the still, metallic kind that makes your fingers numb and your memory sharper than you want it to be. We'd lived in the house almost 9 years. Every December, I made the same pilgrimage up the creaky pull-down ladder, muttering about insulation and old boxes. She always said, "Be careful up there," like the attic was some kind of mythic danger zone. I always laughed. Said, "Don't worry, babe. I know this place better than I know myself." I didn't. Not even close. The box was buried behind old Halloween bins and forgotten tax returns. Plain cardboard, sealed with yellowing tape. No label. Just her maiden name written in fading Sharpie across the top, Morgan Kelly. I almost didn't open it. Almost. But the handwriting caught me. I hadn't seen that version of her name in years, not since the early days. Before our wedding. Before she became mine in the way paperwork said she was. Before the vows. Before Caleb. Curiosity 1. Inside were notebooks, Polaroids, postcards from places I didn't know she'd been. And then, the letters. 14 of them. Folded, stacked, bound with a pale blue ribbon. The first one was dated October 3, 2015, 2 weeks before our wedding. I shouldn't have read them. But I did. She called him M. No full name. Just the letter. The tone was warm, aching. Filled with the kind of intimacy you don't fake. The kind I hadn't felt from her in years. I saw a man in the airport who looked like you. I almost ran to him. Isn't that crazy? How my heart still races at the idea of you. I'm getting married soon. Not to you, obviously. You were never the right choice, just the real one. The deep one. The one that made everything else feel shallow. Sometimes I wonder if I'm choosing safety over love. But I'm tired of breaking. That line. Choosing safety over love. I read it again. And again. I don't know how long I sat there in that attic, my breath clouding in the freezing air. Long enough that my legs went numb. Long enough that the light shifted through the slats. I kept reading. The letter dated June 15, 2016, a week after our honeymoon, was worse. I saw our wedding pictures on Facebook. You look happy. You always look happy. I envy that. I envy how little you have to lie. Being with him is like floating on warm water. Safe. Gentle. But sometimes, I miss drowning. She was talking about me. And him. And some part of her missed drowning. When I climbed down, I didn't bring the box with me. I didn't speak to her when I re-entered the kitchen. Just set the lights on the counter and said, "Found M." She kissed me on the cheek and went back to stirring her cocoa. Caleb was singing in the other room, making paper snowflakes. Life moved like nothing had shifted. But inside me, something cracked. Subtle. But permanent. And that night, when she fell asleep beside me, breathing soft and steady, I went back up. Alone. Not for more decorations. Not even for the letters. I needed to see if he'd ever written her back. And I wasn't prepared for what I found beneath the false bottom of the box. There was something about the box I hadn't noticed the first time. Its weight. Too heavy for just paper and ribbon and nostalgia. I lifted the contents again, the letters, the notebooks, the snapshots, and that's when I saw it. A thin crease along the bottom panel. The cardboard was double-layered. A false bottom. Taped into place like it was never meant to be discovered. My hands shook. Not from cold. From dread. I peeled it back slowly. The sound was loud in the stillness of the attic, like the box itself was warning me to stop. Beneath it, another stack. Thicker pages. Black ink. Different handwriting. These weren't her letters. These were his. She had kept them. All of them. Dozens of pages folded neatly and pressed flat, like sacred things. Each one dated, numbered. He signed them simply, M, no last name. Just like she did. I unfolded the top one. You always wanted the truth, Morgan. So here it is. I wasn't strong enough to fight for you. I thought walking away was the noble thing, the less selfish thing. I didn't realize how much of myself I was leaving behind. If I showed up now, would you still open the door? I sat on the attic floor again, cross-legged like a child in school. I read for hours. He was poetic. Raw. Honest in ways I didn't know people could still be after high school heartbreaks and real-life jobs and bills and parenting schedules. He told her things I'd never heard from her. Fears. Memories. Inside jokes. One letter ended with a list of what he missed most. Her neck when she wore her hair up. Her sleepy voice at 2 a.m. The scar on her knee from falling in the lake that summer in Vermont. We've never been to Vermont. Another letter was dated December 25, 2017, the year our son was born. While I was downstairs assembling a plastic train set under the tree, she had opened a letter from another man. One that ended with, I wish I could have seen him. I wonder if he has your eyes. I dropped the page like it burned. There was no proof, no confession, nothing concrete, but that sentence didn't feel innocent. It sat there, lodged in my throat like a swallowed stone. I looked over at the box, the ribbon, the careful folds, the effort she made to protect all of it. And suddenly I realized. She hadn't just held on to the past. She'd preserved it. Like something alive. And I had to ask myself a question I never thought I'd ask. Not out of paranoia, but because of how hard she had worked to hide the answer. Is Caleb even mine? The thing about doubt is, it doesn't arrive like thunder. It creeps. It starts small, a whisper in the back of your head. A flicker behind the eyes. And then, before you even realize what's happened, it rewrites everything you thought was solid. That night, I didn't sleep. She curled against me like always. Same position, same soft breath on my shoulder. But it felt like lying next to a stranger who had memorized my rhythm. I stared at the ceiling and replayed that line from his letter. I wonder if he has your eyes. It kept looping in my head until it stopped being just about the past. Until it cracked open something deeper. Something I had never once questioned. I had cut Caleb's umbilical cord. I had held him the moment he entered the world, blue and wailing and beautiful. I had paced hospital floors while she slept. Heated bottles at 2 a.m. taken days off work to rock him through fevers. Carried him in a sling across my chest until my back gave out. We shared songs, routines, inside jokes no one else knew. But now, every smile, every photo, came with an asterisk I couldn't unsee. I got up before dawn. Poured coffee I didn't drink. Just stood in the kitchen, staring at nothing while the pot hissed behind me. The world outside the window was frozen, grass silver with frost, trees skeletal. Everything looked like it could snap. When Caleb woke up, he wandered in with his favorite blanket. Hair a mess. Eyes half closed. He climbed into my lap, the way he always did. "Daddy," he mumbled, "your face looks sad." I kissed his head and held him tighter than I should have. Was it guilt? Fear? A need to prove something, to feel something real, right there in my arms? Maybe all of it. She walked in a few minutes later, yawning, smiling, totally unaware of what I had found. What I had read. What had shifted. She kissed my cheek and said, "He's really been missing you lately. Work's been brutal, huh?" I nodded. Said nothing. Because how do you answer that? How do you say, "I'm afraid I'm not his father and I'm even more afraid that I am," because that means you lied to me every day of his life. That weekend, I didn't bring up the box. Didn't mention the letters. Didn't scream or accuse or even ask the question that was now pulsing behind every look. Instead, I did something worse. I called a clinic. Asked what I needed to do a private paternity test. They said it was simple. Swab from me. Swab from him. Results in days. I didn't tell her. I couldn't. Because if I was wrong, I'd ruin everything. And if I was right, well, I don't know if there's a word for a man who loses both his wife and his son in the same breath. But I knew what I felt like walking out of that clinic. A man already grieving a child who was still calling him Dad. There's a kind of silence that sets in when you're waiting for a truth you don't want. It doesn't feel like anticipation. It feels like grief showing up early. Like your body already knows something your mind refuses to say out loud. I mailed the DNA kit on a Thursday morning. Plain envelope. No return address. Just dropped it in the blue box outside the post office like I was tossing away the last thread holding me together. After that, everything slowed down. Work became background noise. I took meetings, nodded at emails, answered when spoken to, but nothing stuck. I was a man-shaped echo. At home, I watched Caleb closer than ever. Every gesture became a clue. Every smile a test. Did his laugh sound like mine? Was that my chin? My walk? Was the way he said, grilled cheese, something I taught him, or something someone else might have? And then came the photos. I opened our family photo album, the physical one she insisted we keep, even in the digital age. Thick pages, warm colors, little captions scribbled in pen. The baby shower. Our first Christmas as parents. Caleb in the hospital blanket, her arms wrapped around both of us. She looked so happy. But now I looked at her differently. Looked through her. Had she known when this was taken? Was she smiling at the camera, or smiling because she knew something I didn't? There was one photo that made my stomach knot. Caleb, age 4, in a superhero costume. Halloween. He was standing on the porch, grinning, but not at me. At whoever was holding the camera. I wasn't there that night. I'd had a conference. She said a friend took the photo. But suddenly I wondered, which friend? I flipped it over. On the back, in her handwriting, my little Superman, just like his dad. The word dad felt cruel now. Not because of Caleb, but because of what it had been wrapped around. A sentence that used to make me proud now made me feel sick. That night, I sat on the porch alone. No coat. Just cold air and my thoughts. She came out after Caleb went to bed. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. She stood behind me, arms crossed. "You've been quiet lately." "Just tired," I said. "Lot on my mind." She didn't press. She just kissed the top of my head and went back inside. Like nothing was wrong. Like we were okay. And maybe that's what made it worse, the way she could keep pretending. The results came in 4 days later. Email. Subject line, confidential, DNA results enclosed. I hovered over it. I closed my laptop. Got up. Paced. Poured a drink I didn't want. Sat down again. And then I opened it. My eyes locked on one sentence, typed in bold. Probability of paternity, 0%. I didn't feel anger at first. Just absence. The kind that hollows you out from the inside and leaves only muscle memory. I blinked at the screen, reread the sentence, then closed the laptop like it had given me a diagnosis I'd already suspected. 0%. It wasn't even a maybe. Not a question. Not a margin of error. Just a full, final, no. I sat there, unmoving, for what felt like an hour. At some point the ice in my glass melted. A breeze pushed through the window and made the curtains flutter. It was like the world was still trying to carry on, unaware something had quietly died inside me. I thought about the night Caleb was born. I remembered the fluorescent lights, her hand squeezing mine, her voice whispering, "We did it. He's perfect." I remember crying, not out of fear, but relief. I remember feeling whole. Like I had just stepped into the most sacred role of my life. And now I had to wonder, was that night a lie, too? I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. Caleb was in the next room, watching cartoons, singing under his breath the way he always did when he was happy. It gutted me. Because no matter what the test said, I still loved that sound. But I couldn't unknow what I knew. And once that truth cracks the surface, there's no going back. You don't hear his laughter the same. You don't feel her touch the same. You don't even breathe the same in your own house. The next day, I took off work. Told her I wasn't feeling well. Which was technically true, I just didn't say which part of me was sick. She kissed my forehead. Rest. I'll pick Caleb up from school later. I waited until they were gone. Then I opened the box again. Not for the letters, I'd memorized enough of them. But for something I'd missed. Something I wasn't sure I'd even find. I flipped through the photos, the cards, the pressed flowers, old receipts from diners in towns I didn't recognize. And at the very bottom, I found it. A photo strip. 4 pictures. Them. Her and them. In some booth. Laughing. Kissing. The last photo, her hand on his chest, showing a ring. My ring. And the date printed at the bottom. 2 days before our wedding. It wasn't just emotional. It wasn't just letters. She had seen him. Touched him. Been with him. Right before she stood in front of a minister and promised me forever. And now I had a choice. Keep pretending, for Caleb, for comfort, for the illusion of a family. Or finally ask her the question I never thought I'd say out loud. Who is his father? She knew something was wrong the moment she walked in. Maybe it was the way I was sitting, too still, too focused. Or maybe she finally felt it, the shift. That quiet ripple you can't explain, only sense. She set her purse down slowly. James. Her voice was soft. Nervous. I looked up at her. I need to ask you something, I said. And I need you to tell me the truth. All of it. No circling. No softening. She blinked. Okay. I held up the photo strip. Her smile. His hands. My ring. She froze. Who is Caleb's father? Silence. No gasp. No denial. Just, a breath held too long. She sat across from me, hands folded so tightly I could see her knuckles blanching. I don't know how to answer that, she said. There's a right answer and there's the truth, I said. I already have the first one. Her eyes welled. You did a test. I didn't respond. She nodded, almost like she'd expected it. And then, she finally spoke. It was only once. That weekend. I was overwhelmed. Scared. We were getting married. I panicked. I stayed silent. I didn't even know I was pregnant until after the honeymoon, she said. And by then. I just assumed. You assumed I wouldn't notice? I asked. I assumed I could let it go, she said. That it didn't matter. That love would fix it. That's not love, I said, my voice shaking. That's theft. She flinched like I'd hit her. I loved you. I love you. That has never changed. I stood. So when you read his letters every year, was that love too? Her mouth opened. Closed. Nothing came out. I gave everything I had to this family, I said. To him. I wasn't just a placeholder. I was a father. I am a father. You still are, she whispered. Not by blood. By choice, she said. But I didn't answer. I walked into Caleb's room. Looked around. The rocket ship sheets. The glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. The framed drawing from preschool that said, "Best Dad Ever." And then I said the thing I didn't know I'd been holding in. I don't know who I am in this house anymore. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, tears on her cheeks. You're the man who raised him. That has to mean something. It does, I said. It means I can't lie to him the way you lied to me. She stepped forward. You're not going to tell him. Not yet. And I just looked at her. I have to, I said. And then, as if the universe wasn't done with me yet, she added, almost inaudibly. There's something else I need to tell you. My stomach dropped. Because the way she said it. It sounded like the worst part still hadn't come out. She sat down slowly. Trembling now. Not from fear, but because she finally knew the lie had run out of places to hide. I didn't rush her. Say it, I said. She wiped her face. Tried. Failed. Tried again. It wasn't just once, she said. With him. The room stilled. I swear the walls held their breath. Before we got married, I ended things, but not cleanly. We stayed in touch. Sometimes it was emotional. Sometimes it wasn't. And after Caleb? I asked. She nodded. Twice. That I remember. I felt a strange calm rise up. Not peace. Not even anger. Just the weight of something final landing. You knew there was a chance, I said. All this time. I told myself he was yours, she whispered. Because you loved him. Because I saw you choose him. Every single day. I closed my eyes. That part was true. I did choose him. Even when I didn't know I was choosing. Not biology. Not legacy. Just him, messy, giggling, rocket-obsessed Caleb. I thought about the first time he fell asleep on my chest. His tiny heartbeat thumping against mine like it had always belonged there. That memory wasn't a lie. That was real. When I opened my eyes, she was staring at the floor. I don't hate you, I said. Her eyes shot up. But I can't live in this story anymore. She nodded. Quiet. Accepting. I'll stay until the end of the school year, I said. We'll make a plan. One that keeps him steady. One that keeps him safe. And after that, she asked. I'll find a new place, I said. But I'll still be his dad. Tears streamed down her face, not dramatic, not pleading. Just silent acknowledgement that love doesn't always make us good. That some bridges burn quietly. Later that night, when Caleb was asleep, I opened the attic one last time. Took the box. Carried it to the backyard. And burned it. Not out of anger. Out of necessity. Some truths don't belong in drawers. Some wounds don't deserve to breathe. And some love, real love, isn't found in letters. It's found in lunchboxes, bedtime stories, and the way a child says your name without ever questioning if you earned it. The next morning, Caleb ran into the kitchen, holding his superhero cape. Daddy, he said. I want to be strong like you today. I knelt down, tied the cape around his neck. You already are, I said. He grinned. And for the first time in weeks. I meant it. Not because I got the ending I wanted. But because I finally understood that being a father isn't written in ink or measured in blood. It's what you show up for. Even after everything else burns.